Hello everybody, it's Ken Faulkner. Got another knife video for you. This is like a series I'm gonna kind of go through. If you guys saw that humongously long video I did on preferences, knife preferences, I was talking about how I want to break that up, get in a little more detail, probably come up with some different ideas, maybe redundant on a couple things, because I don't plan this stuff out that much. I'm just kind of wing it, kind of whatever comes off the top of my head. A little bit of thought goes into it. I mean, it's not like I'm just rambling completely. But anyway, this is going to be more about the first part that I touched on, having to do with what you're using your knives for. The knives preferences thing is personal, and so of course when I'm talking about it and showing knives, some of the stuff is going to be my personal thoughts, and you may have completely different ideas, but it's the general idea that I want to kind of bring across. And certainly some of these categories I'm not adept at. I kind of have a wide variety of. I like to get a lot of different kinds of knives. So the reality is that you can cross over from different preferences. You can have knives from all the different categories or just a few of the different categories. But and it has something to do with when you go to buy a knife. What do you like? What makes you interested in spending your hard-earned money on a knife? So yeah, I went into this with the first topic was kind of more common, I think, at least on I watch a lot of knife YouTube. I know you guys may or may not watch as much as I do, but there's a lot of channels out there that are just showing basic EDC type knives. I mean, and there's channels that do full on EDC, all kinds of EDC, but they'll do like an EDC knife, and they'll talk about a certain size, like somewhere around 3 inch, as being an EDC size. And the first category I had was like kind of light cutting and EDC, and I think that's where most knife collectors or people in the community are at. Just from seeing comments, in the lives, what people have, and of course, I don't watch all the different channels, so there's some that are more specific to certain areas. So this is kind of my perception, just based on my own experience, and I have a limited experience. So all these, I just want to make it clear that I don't think I'm an expert, but I'm just kind of throwing out ideas. And if you want to throw out ideas in the comments, I am totally happy to hear anything you want to say. Good, bad, and ugly, don't matter to me. So there's EDC. Some of the things that are EDC are smaller knives like this, or this is the Moriarl. Always have a hard time with that one. The Moriarl from Migron. And then we got the Vosti Nightshade, which is a good cutting knife, but I think it's kind of an EDC size, but it's going to have some people saying, oh no, I like this shape better. I like the look of this one better. And a lot of people don't like this one, but it's very functional. If you are using your knives on a daily basis, I'll probably 50% of the time that I use a knife, I don't have to use a knife. I choose to use a knife because I love knives. I love cutting with them. I love doing stuff with them. So then there's going to be other ones that are even smaller, like this Pena. This is a Caballero Pena. I had to look this one up. The Caballero, and this one is a bit fancy, so it could go into another category I'm going to talk about later. But a lot of people like to EDC knives based on their color and how it matches their EDC. If they got hanks, they got pouches, flashlights. They wanna make them all kind of color coordinated. Definitely not something I do on a regular basis. I just kind of carry things that I feel like carrying that day. But there's people too. When you go on Instagram, you'll see a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's super cool on an Instagram photo. There's also like the gent knives, like this. Man, I always have a hard time with this one. This is the CEO. Let's see if I can get it to come out. I like the flipper version of this that came out later after I bought this one. But this is the CEO, and this is like something that is what they call a gent knife. And that could be considered in that EDC kind of category. Very small. Used to carry it in the shirt pocket back when I was wearing more fancy clothes to the office. Things have gotten so casual nowadays. Most people wearing jeans and tennis shoes nowadays. So don't really have too many opportunities to carry this one. And, it's so hard to get this thumb stud. I've always had trouble with that thumb stud, and especially since I don't carry it much, so I think it makes it a little, maybe it needs to be cleaned out or something. But, depending on, if you're still wearing the suit into the office and you want to have something small like this, you're wearing a coat jacket because you're a high-end salesman, you work in a bank, something like that. The office building I work in has a lot of finance guys, and they're like dressed to the T. And maybe they would carry something like that, but they probably get something a lot more expensive than that, though. So anyway, that's like EDC size. I just kind of came up with some ideas on that. I'll throw those guys out to the side. Second category was training self-defense. Now, everybody kind of talks about it, especially any knife that you get. Where was the knife? I don't have a lot of examples of this. I was kind of, when I first started out, I was big on the self-defense thing because I was training martial arts, and that's where I started, thinking that would be cool to have a knife with me all the time because then if I needed it, I have it. But then I kind of realized that it doesn't just like happen. As long as you're like smart about where you go. You're not hanging out in the bar late at night or whatever. When I was younger, I used to do that, but I still never got in fights because, in reality, when you train martial arts, you kind of get into the real philosophy of it. You realize that you're doing it so you learn not to get in fights. And then, being aware, being careful about your environments, being respectful, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, regardless of that, some people do get into the self-defense side of it, and this knife was built for that. Michael Janich, he's got a whole system. Of course, he's training like military, and he's training like those kind of guys do need to have the self-defense for sure. But your average guy on the street, the military and the police and all that kind of stuff. And then there's cases, and I've talked about this before, where you have a knife. This one's a Kershaw, but it's based off of an Emerson. And Emerson's kind of come from a fighting kind of lineage. It does have the wave so that it's fast deployment. That is one thing that's important. If you are going to use a knife for self-defense, is that you get a fast deployment. So it does have that wave feature. And in this case, I picked this one up, which is a bladed weapon, after I had gotten this trainer to work on training, knife self-defense, knife fighting, really, just because the training is generally enjoying the combat. When you don't, we always say take your knocks in here when we're in the school, where you say take your knocks in here when you got around people that aren't going to hurt you. They're just trying to help you to learn. And so yeah, training with a trainer that has holes in it, so it makes it very clear that this does not have an edge, is usually a sign that a knife was kind of designed to be self-defense. So I'm not really going to go in too deep in it. Even though most of my training is not really knife related, but I do enjoy it. It's kind of a side thing. Then the other category I had was like bushcraft and fishing. This is something that I used to do some camping, but I was never really a hardcore camper. When I was younger, and especially now, I don't go camping nearly as much as I used to. So I had the Mora that I got recently, and this has definitely got a design, in my opinion, for bushcrafting and working, because it's got like this dual grind where you get a little thinner up here for some fine work, and then you got the very thick wedge shaped edge here where you would maybe do maybe batoning or something like that. The only batoning I've done is very small pieces. Here's another example of something, and it even has the ferro rod, of something that I would consider to be a bushcraft knife from a much less educated point of view than some people. But this is a BPS knives. Really good price. I think, what was it called? If you're interested in, I think I've had some people ask me about bushcrafting type knives at work, and I am not BRS. Where is it? BPS Knives Adventurer. That's what this is, and I recommend it if you're just starting out and you want to find something that's a reasonable price until you kind of know what you like. Get a BPS. You can get them on Amazon. They're pretty well made. They are from Ukraine, so they're and the makeup of it is not high end, but it's decent for sure. It'll hold up. So yeah, there's that. Also, I had fishing and hunting, and I have this Nessmuk. Obviously it's got the fancy Damascus, but the Nessmuk has that kind of curved. And I've never skinned an animal, so I really don't know. But I think that they will use this for getting in and skinning, just from what I've heard. And fishing, my dad was big on boats, and most of my fishing that I did was him trying to get me out on the boat with him. And he'd have some, I'd go fishing, and I remember him telling me a story later on when I was an adult that I made him cook the fish that I a lot of people will fish and they'll throw their fish back, but when I caught my fish, I wanted to eat it. I wanted to eat that damn thing. So I would get this fish, and it wasn't the best bonita. I don't know if you ever heard of it. We get that. It's out in the ocean because we were mostly out in the ocean on our boats, and my mom would make it. She was always nice about it, and I loved it. But my dad said, "Oh, it's the worst fish to eat." It's just a funny story. Anyway, so there's a lot of people and a lot of channels out there. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely look for them for information on that. I'm kind of like that. How they say, what do they say? Something about being, a little bit about a lot of things, but you're not a master of anything. It's kind of how I am. So I got a lot of little general information. The third category I had on here was, or fourth category was work. If you work in a manufacturing or industrial type situation, if you work in carpentry or a machine shop, or you're building houses, doing construction, you might have knives that have to be tough. One thing this is because I used to work for a few years out in the test department, and I did some field service work and stuff like that. I still get out in the field once in a while, but this is the kind of knife that I would carry. I don't have my old knife that I used to carry. I actually broke the tip off of it, and it was I kind of ground it down, so it was kind of like a wedge, and it was a lot actually. This one is the not the Banshee. This one is Damn Design. Was it the Banshee? Damn Design. Wraith Banshee. Yeah, I think that's the Banshee. Anyway, it was a lot like this, except it was like broken off just straight across. It was a regular knife, just a clip point like this, but it was broken off. And I remember I got pulled over one day because I had long hair, and I was like, looked like some kind of rock and roll guy. Kind of was actually back in the day. But I got pulled over, and the guy said, "Hey, do you got any knives?" And I said, "Yeah, well, I'm going to work." And I had this on my belt, the belt thing like this. And he took it out. He opened it up. He saw how the tip was broken off. He kind of figured, yeah, he's not going to stab anybody with that thing. But anyway, this is a pretty solid knife. So I think I would, take this out. And I have before when I've done some work around the house and stuff like that. I've used this because you can kind of use this tip here, which is it's like a tanto. So you got the secondary tip and a tip here. But this can be used for scraping or prying because it is very beefy, very thick. Maybe not the thickest, but it's definitely reinforced because that tanto bevels down so fast here that it's got a lot of reinforcement to that front edge. Another one that's a pretty cool one for work is this Tough Light, especially if you're working in shipping and receiving. We had that. I never worked in shipping and receiving, but we had it at work. And those guys were cutting boxes all day long, cutting straps for packages that had been shipped in. And, you could have a box cutter, or you can have something like this. And this definitely would be great for that kind of stuff. It's got that plastic handle, but it can take anything and get dirty and clean up really easy. Got a nice strong lock. It's got the triad type lock here. Another one that I think is great for work. I got a bunch of stuff out, and there it is. The Finwolf is a really good one. It's another one with the triad lock. Very strong lock. And this even has that Scandi grind. So if you really wanted a folder, maybe for Bushcraft, if I was going to pick a folder for Bushcraft, this might be the one, because that Scandi grind really helps with the wood. When you're cutting that wood and you want it to split, it goes so thick so quick that it helps to split the wood and let the knife slide through. So that's a good, strong, and also one of those kind of handles that can handle getting really dirty, oily, or whatever. Good grip to it. So that would be another one I would consider a good work knife. So moving on from the work stuff, that was what I had when I did the original thing, but I think there's another category that I kind of missed out on. And it's the collector, almost the Safe Queen sort of knife, the one that is just a pretty knife. And I might have just realized I wanted to do this because I love showing off this guy here. But let's go through this one. This is a Sheargoroth. This is a model that just came out recently. Let's see, it's the going through my spreadsheet here. Sheargoroth. Where are you? There it is. It's the Quantum Ursus. That's pretty plain. For a Shiro, it's plain, but the action is amazing. It is really well made. It's got some little details in here that are very nice. So, if you wanted to use this for a regular EDC, it's kind of big for that. But man, the action's so great. So that would be one that, and especially the higher end ones, the really expensive ones, are going to be more of a Safe Queen. Just look at in your collection. And, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong with that. You got something like this, which is the, what it is, and I can't think of it. Arcane Design. This is I know it's a P. Starts with a P. Is a Plexus. Arcane Design. I got way too many knives and too short. Plexus, yes. Too short of a memory. But it has got some really cool grinds on it. So, this is something you could use. You could definitely use it. And both these knives will work. They cut well. This one's got a lot of strength in the tip and stuff like that, because it's the way it's just designed. It has like good strength, and it's hollow here, so it gets some sliciness as well. Could be a self-defense knife because it's got that good tip that it's got the swedge on top, so it will penetrate very well. So there's a lot of crossing over of different things, and of course this is the Rockstead, Higo 2. the Higo 2. And this one's beautiful. It always gets fingerprints on it, but it still looks beautiful. Even with fingerprints, it looks beautiful. And it's just it's really a work of art. All these are work of art. And you can really see the artistry in any of these knives. I mean, this one's got a cool artistry to it, and that hollow grind. So, I mean, these could be cross-used, but I guess what I'm trying to say is your preferences may be based on what you're planning to do with the knife. Is it collecting specifically? Is it taking it to work and using it? I don't know that I would go and hard use these real expensive knives. Is it a knife that you're going to, I just showed this one in a video yesterday, a knife that you're just going to throw in your pocket and you're going to have it every single day. And every time it sharpens or you break the tip off, you're going to just keep sharpening that thing and you're just going to keep carrying it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's so cool. I think that's the way maybe generations before would be more common. Or do you want a fancy slip joint that has a hollow grind and it's going to have S90V steel and cut really well, and it's got a real fancy handle on it, but you want to carry it with you. And could be this could easily be an EDC. It could be a fancy collector knife, or it could be a user that you want to carry every day, because that blade shape that will definitely do the job. Or do you want just like a little tiny knife that, you know, one of these small little slip joints? This guy's a little buck. It's got a couple blades, so if one gets dull, you got a second one right there on the same knife. You know, it's really all up to you, and it's all going to be based on your preferences. Your preferences could be multiples of these. It could be, you know, very specific. And nobody's really wrong as far as I'm concerned. I mean, obviously I have all these different knives. I may not have the best bushcraft knives out there, but I do like bushcraft knives. I like the just the design of them, the thought of them. I mean, when I talk about, you know, like especially like this Moors, even though it's an inexpensive knife, I love the fact that it's designed this way. And I look at it and I go, wow, that's really, you know, very sharp edges on the spine. So you're going to be able to strike that ferro rod, you know, things like that. I really like the design, because actually for a living, I do design work on a computer. So anyway, I don't want to go on for an hour. I probably could, but I just wanted to kind of go through this first category, and I'll be popping in like maybe once a week to talk about other different categories that I talked about of preferences. I hope you guys find it interesting. Definitely, if you want to join in on the conversation in the comments, more than welcome. I'm never going to tell you you're wrong. I'm always going to be interested in what you have to say. So you guys have a good one. Sorry, my voice is going. I think I either got allergies or maybe I'm finally getting that cold my girlfriend had. I don't know. All right, guys, you take care, stay well, and I will talk to you on the next one.